It's just at midnight, I have myself a cup of tea, and I have decided to start randomly a 30-day challenge. Some people do fitness, some people do healthy eating, but I have decided I'm going to try and read 30 different manga volumes in 30 days. I mean, I was planning on doing this next month, but my brain went, let's start it now. Let's start it now. Let's start at midnight. Who needs sleep? So I'm going to do a spoiler-free reading vlog, reading 30 different manga volumes. And these are all manga volumes I already own, volumes that I need to get to. I did do something a little bit similar to this back in December. I did a manga tournament where I read 8 different mangas. And if you want to see what I read in that video, I will leave a link to that video down below. And honestly, ever since last year, I've just been on such a huge manga spiral, but I haven't been reading them as much as I wanted to. I've been reading my favorite of all time, One Piece, which I'm still making my way through. I have just finished the Zou arc, by the way. I'm getting into Whole Cake Island. I'm so excited. And I'm also reading Berserk. I'm currently on the Golden Age arc, but you know, it'll be nicer to do something a bit lighter, try all these different mangas that I already own, and see if we can discover a new favorite. So what's the 30th manga that I'm reading in this video, you ask? It's gonna be a bit of a mix. We'll do a separate video for some heavier romance, and I'm gonna focus more on like series, but also I do have a few standalones in this. I'm not surprised I had 30 volume 1s on my TBR. In fact, I do have more, but you know, I had to narrow it down to 30. So the manga I'm trying in this video are Assassination Classroom, Attack on Titan, Banana Fish, Black Clover, Bleach, Blue Exorcist, Chainsaw Man, Dead Man Wonderland, Demon Slayer, Dr. Stone, Fairy Tail, Food Wars, Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Fruits Basket, Haikyuu, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kamisama Kiss, Marmalade Boy, My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, Orochi, Phantom of the Idol, The Promised Neverland, Rainbow Days, Sailor Moon, Toilet Bound Hanakoken, Tokyo Ghoul, Undead Unluck, Vinland Saga, and finally Yona of the Dawn. I will go through what these stories are about in the sections. I will have everything timestamped down below. Now I'm actually not going to read these in alphabetical order. I actually have a spin the wheel that I'm going to use every single time I finish a manga book to pick what I'm going to read next. So I myself do not know what I'm going to be reading in what order. So it's definitely going to be those 30 books, but what order are they going to be in? I do not know. What am I going to start with? We're going to find out. So let's see. The first manga that I will be reading is... Oh god. What is it? 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 Oh, Food Wars. Food Wars. Where is it? Okay, the first manga that I will be reading in this video is Food Wars. I totally forgot to mention that I'm going to be ranking all of the volumes I'm reading in this video from best to worst. I will have it running throughout the video every single time I finish a volume where it ranks. So obviously right now Food Wars will be number 1 because it's the only manga I've read in this video. And yeah, I finished the first volume of Food Wars and I really enjoyed it. It is odd to think that a manga that's mainly to do with cooking would interest me because I'm terrible at cooking. I'm so bad. I hate cooking. However, I do love things like the Great British Bake Off, for instance.
Started making it. Had a breakdown. Bon appetit.
So I love seeing people cook, although Great British Bake Off is more like baking and bakery stuff, whereas this is proper full-on cooking. In this one we follow Soma and he works in his family's restaurant, although it's really just him and his dad. And he and his dad have these like sort of friendly competitions between each other to see who can make the better dish, and Soma has never ever won against his father, which I absolutely love because it allowed me to root for Soma from the very beginning. I want to see him beat his dad. I want him to get better and become the best. I want to be the very best. And again, there's not going to be like any story spoilers. Essentially, I'm just going to go through like the very surface level what happens in volume 1 without revealing any like twists and turns and things. You know what? It feels very comforting to read. In the grand scheme of things, a whole great deal didn't happen per se, but it sucked me in and it made me really interested in what was going on. But yeah, I love the fact that Soma didn't just want to beat his dad, but he also wants to be part of his family business and he cares so much about his family restaurant. There is like a property shark person who is trying to get the property so that they can do some developments, but Soma has been like resisting that and is like trying to save his family restaurant essentially. So he then ends up going to this really prestigious culinary school and there it's like cutthroat. It is so cutthroat. There are some very spoiled and entitled people there. You really do see how Soma, who has come from, well, what they say is like nothing, he is like common and stuff like that. To see where he comes from, you can't help but root for the underdog. Have you ever seen The Penthouse, which is on Netflix? I believe it's a K-drama. I've only seen the first season, but that show dealt with a school where people are competing to be singers and like music. It was like a music school. This is sort of like the same kind of thing a little bit with the whole culinary school aspect of it and trying to cook the best dishes possible. And again, I love that angle, I love that story. It made things quite tense. Like, will he actually get in? Will he pass his audition? So I think it's gonna be like a really interesting time at this school, and to see exactly what comes of Soma and how he develops his own cooking skills. The actual cooking itself made me so bloody hungry. There's a lot of explanation in what he's doing, or like what anyone's doing when they're cooking, which I honestly appreciate because, as I said, I'm so bad at cooking. And it's still interesting though, even though you wouldn't think getting like the ingredients told to you and like how they're cooking it and stuff like that, it's actually so bloody interesting. And then seeing the reactions of people tasting the food, it's I have questions. Sometimes they would somehow become naked in their mind. Like the explosion of flavor in the tastes, which honestly, I guess you can relate, you know, when you have something that's so good for the first time and you have this like explosion in your mouth and it is a little bit sensual and all of that. So yeah, there are times when someone's trying something and then in their mind, it's that good that they're like naked in their mind and like, yeah, it's hard to explain, but it's like if that feeling you have when you tried something that incredible, and I can totally relate. There was like one that I think the first time it happened, it was a bit questionable because there were like tentacles. But hopefully that just intrigues you more and hopefully doesn't deter you. I found it fun. I found it so much fun. I'm definitely rooting for Soma. I can't wait to see what happens next. I would definitely check out volume 2 and beyond. I believe it has 36 volumes in total and it has ended, which is great because I seem to enjoy starting manga series that are still running and have 1,000 volumes. So it's nice to have something that's a bit shorter, and we'll see how I get on. We'll see if I end up getting another volume of this and give that a read. Not in this video, but I think I would definitely check it out. If I'm in Forbidden Planet or any store that sells manga and they have volume 2, I'm definitely picking it up. Was there anything else? But Arena, actually, there is a character called Arena. She has like this divine tongue. Like she has this incredible taste thing going on where she can really taste something and you want to pass her test in order to become a chef. If you don't, then your reputation is ruined. But Arena herself is like a student. I believe she is like valedictorian. She is just #1 essentially. I love what she says. She says, to be honest, I pity those of you who are the same age as I because you have been condemned since birth to compete for 2nd place. Just burn. Absolute burn. I love a bad guy. I love somebody who is that confident in themselves. You know, people need to be more confident in themselves and their skills. But to be born to compete for 2nd place, what is this, like some kind of epic rap battle of history? I'm so glad I picked this one up, and I'm so glad that we started off this week, actually. We've started off on a really good high note. I feel like it was just like really just what I needed right now. And now what I need actually is some food. Let's head to the library, let's spin the wheel, let's see what I'm reading next. Okay, are you guys ready? Let's spin that wheel. I don't know what I'm fancying, to be honest. Oh my god, that was so close. It was so close to being Kami-sama Kiss, but no, we have Jujutsu Kaisen. Definitely looks very, very different to Food Wars. This was actually the perfect choice to read after Food Wars because I ended up taking this to a haunted location called 30 East Drive. I have a video down in the description box if you want to check it out. But it is notorious for being a haunted place, evil spirits, entities like that. So yeah, with Jujutsu Kaisen, totally perfect. Now I do love dark stories, and this one did feel a little bit dark, although the characters made it very light, such as Yuji, the main character. Although I probably said his name wrong, I apologize if I get people's names wrong. He's at school, he wants to be part of the occult club with a couple of his friends, and yeah, like this is set in a world where, and I'm trying to get my head around what's going on in this manga, but yeah, there are these like talismans, like these cursed objects like throughout the world, and when there are certain levels of human emotions in different places, they can sort of manifest. As you can tell, I could probably do with a reread of volume 1 already, okay? It's like kind of a Well, for me anyway, it seems like a quite complex world, but only because I don't think I've read anything quite like this. What was it? I took a photo. Pain, regret, humiliation. The more people dwell on bad memories, the more these places become receptive to those feelings. For that reason, a cursed object is often found at such places as a talisman. So yeah, the main character, he is approached by a jujutsu sorcerer called Megumi. You know what? I feel like I'm gonna get ripped to shreds for these pronunciations. Let me just quickly go on YouTube. Let's see if anybody can tell me how to pronounce these.
With Megami currently...
Megami. I'll try and remember that. Okay, but what about the main character?
Yuji Itadori.
Yuji. Okay, I said that right. Okay, Yuji Megami. Yuji and his occult club have this sort of cursed finger thing, and his occult club are about to unwrap this thing, and if they unwrap it, as Megami says, they could die. It's a really bad thing to unleash one of these curses, because I believe it's part of, and again, like, this is me trying to get everything grasped together. And this finger thing is a fragment of a very feared demon called... I'm just gonna YouTube it. God damn. I think it's Ryomen Sukuna. I think people just call him Sukuna. Okay, that sounds good. Fragments of the legendary Sukuna. There are 12 pieces, and our main character, Yuji, he eats the finger, and he ends up getting imbued, as you can kind of see on the cover there. So I don't think it's a spoiler, it's literally the premise of this whole series, and it's on the cover. But he is then imbued with this demon, and this demon is inside of him, and he now has to collect all 12 pieces of this demon and consume them. Why he has to do that I will not say, but there is a school for jujutsu sorcerers. Yuji is then paired with Megami and another first year jujutsu sorcerer person. Yeah, her name is Nobara. I don't want to actually YouTube that just in case a spoiler pops up, because I'm so interested in this. I really do want to read more of this. There is a sort of cryptic end to one of the chapters about how there are 3 first year students, Yuji, Megami and Nobara, and one of them is going to die. And then the volume ends, I believe, on the day. Oh yeah, so an unnamed apparition of potential special grade. Oh yeah, because there are apparitions that these jujutsu sorcerers then end up having to go and sort of battle or face in order to save the world, I guess, was witnessed by multiple non-jujutsu sorcerers. Since it was deemed an emergency, 3 first-year students were sent to the scene. Of those 3 students, 1 died. So I'm like, who? Who died? I don't know, but I'm really intrigued to find out who. If somebody even dies, it could be one of those things where it's like a trick. Maybe someone does die, but they get resurrected, or like they die for 2 minutes and come back. You know what I mean? Like, that happens a lot in fiction that I read, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a cop-out. But that's why I don't want to research anybody else's name, just in case it tells me who dies. So I need to get reading on the next one. ASAP. Yeah, this is another one I'm going to definitely continue. Watch me read all of these volume 1s in this video and want to continue reading all of them. That's going to be the case, I just know it. I do really like Yuji and his sort of humour. It is a little bit dark, and I do like his style too. And I feel like his relationship with the other first year students is going to be so interesting to watch until one of them dies. But I do think I need to wrap my head around the world, the rules of the world, the special grades of these talismans and curses and stuff like that, and find out exactly how these jujutsu sorcerers work. The more I read, the more I will understand, of course. But do I prefer this over Food Wars? They are 2 very different styles of manga. Very, very different. How do you rank manga that's so bloody different? Did I prefer Food Wars? Food Wars went a little bit weird. Okay, I think I will put Jujutsu Kaisen first at the minute and move Food Wars down 1. I could end up changing things as we go on. I could end up changing things by the very end of this video, but at the minute I think I did prefer this over Food Wars. Now for my favourite part, which is spinning the wheel and finding out what I'm reading next. I hope I get something that has summer vibes. I'm reading Berserk at the minute, and you know, that's dark. So it would be nice to have something summery, but also I'm starting a 48-hour readathon summer staycation weekend with my patrons. So to have something that would fit that would be perfect. So let's spin the wheel, see what we have. Come on, be a good one. Be a good one. Okay, it doesn't look like it's going to be summery at all. Demon Slayer. Okay, it seems like we're getting very close to this side of the wheel. Like, we had Food Wars, then Jujutsu, and then Demon Slayer. They all seem to be around about the same area in terms of like alphabetical wise, if that makes sense. So I might have to like try and randomize it the next time just to change it up a bit. So it looks like it's Demon Slayer, which is not exactly what I wanted right now, but we're just gonna have to play by the rules. Okay, so I guess I don't love everything I've been reading so far. I'm not saying Demon Slayer is bad by any means. In fact, I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's because I've read it right after Jujutsu Kaisen that I didn't enjoy it as much. There were definitely things that, well, criticisms that I have that I think are genuine and not to do with the mood that I'm in or like the headspace I'm in for this type of story, because I want to consume more stories like this. I really do. I love stories with like demons and slaying demons, this whole world that's being presented to me. And honestly, I thought I was going to love this from the very first chapter. I thought the first chapter was so good. We do have Tanjiro and his whole family is murdered by demons. However, he does say that his sister is still warm, so he tries to escape with her, but it turns out that she has been transformed into a demon. Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that that was on the back of the book so it's not a spoiler, but like that is the sort of driving force of our main character, who I didn't love. I didn't love him as a character, to be honest. I mean, I know he's just been through trauma. I get that. But he was a little bit whiny and I just didn't gel with him too much. I mean, I wonder like what would I have been like in his situation, and I have to give him some leeway there. Still, I didn't gravitate towards him as a main character, and I felt like a lot of his development was very, very rushed in this volume. I mean, I will most likely check out more volumes. I don't want to write any of these manga off in this video just from the first volume alone. I know that it takes more than just one volume to really get into the story, but I felt like so much of it was rushed, as in like chapter 1 was fine, and then chapters 2 through 5, I think, rushed a lot of things. There were things I wanted to see that we didn't get to see because Tanjiro's development, Tanjiro's training, for instance, is so rushed through. In fact, I think it was chapter 4 or 5 where we jumped ahead in time a year, and then we jumped ahead in time a year again in the same chapter, and then I think it was maybe chapter 5 where we skipped ahead half a year, and there was just so much skipping around that it just gave me whiplash a little bit. I am captivated by the story of the demons, and I do like that. It is a little bit simplistic. I don't think it's a groundbreaking in any way, but I don't think it really needs to be. It's that genuine connection and bond between brother and sister that I want to see survive. I want to see Tanjiro achieve his goal of saving his sister and curing her of being a demon. I want to see that happen, but the character work I think was just rushed too much. I will say though, in chapter 6, something floored me. I was like, oh my god, that is a twist. I won't say what it is, spoiler free. I thought that was like such a good twist. And then in chapter 7, that twist was brought up again, but by doing that, it kind of lessened the impact of the twist, because I'm like, okay, you knew it was a good twist, and now you're just making this thing, this connection that's so convenient that I just kind of lost my interest again. Not to say that it took away from the initial impact of that twist, but you know, when someone comes out of nowhere a little bit, that's what chapter 7 felt like a little bit to me, but still really good, and I'm not writing the series off at all. Love the ambience, love the atmosphere of this. I loved how we had a snowy setting, and then we get to chapter 6 where the setting really changes. I like that. I like that a lot. So in terms of setting, in terms of atmosphere, 10 out of 10. But I think everywhere else, I think it just lacked a little bit for me to really get captivated by it. I think this will be low on my priority list to continue. It will get continued at some point, but I just think at the minute it's bottom in my ranking of everything I've read so far. I think Food Wars has the edge because that felt like such a comforting read to me. In Jujutsu Kaisen, I thought that really was a great complex sort of world, and this one just like pales in comparison a little bit to that, but I am sure Demon Slayer gets so much better. But just based on volume 1 alone, I just didn't love it, you know? So I do need to spin again, but I'm going to shuffle it this time to see if we get a little bit variety where the spinner lands. So I want to do that on camera so that you guys know I'm not like cheating or anything. So I'll click shuffle. There we go, it's shuffled. Now let's spin it. Let's see what we are reading next. What do I fancy? I do fancy something a bit more cozy. I don't think I have anything cozy on there, but I did say before I wanted something with summer vibes. I don't know, maybe like something contemporary then, a bit like Food Wars. I don't know if I'm really fancying another fantasy right after reading 2. So let's spin. Let's not waste any time. Come on, be a good one. Be a good one. Ah, it's... Dr. Stone. I just bloody shuffled it and we got Dr. Stone. That was probably like right next to Demon Slayer on the alphabetical list. I mean, I am excited to read Dr. Stone, but I just fancied something a bit more cozy, a bit more contemporary. But I probably shot myself in the foot anyway, because probably 80% of what's on there is fantasy based. maybe? Yeah, I don't think I thought it through in terms of the balance there, but for God's sake, shuffling didn't work. So we're just gonna read Dr. Stone next. I really do apologise if the audio on this section is not that great. I'm in my bedroom right now and it started raining and it's beautiful, I love it, and it's like great ambience and stuff, but I don't know how it's going to translate on the camera. So I apologise if you can hear that in the background. But anyway, I finished reading Dr. Stone. I think it's my favourite thing I've read so far in this video. I genuinely thought it was fantastic. I love the kind of premise because it is like a global event, you know, a global disaster that happens, and I used to really enjoy watching things like, was it Flash Forward and The Leftovers, where something happens that is just like part of this huge mystery, and in Dr. Stone, like everyone in the world gets turned into stone, like just randomly this happens. It happens so quickly in the very first chapter too, and we're introduced to our two main characters. It was Senku, I think, yeah, Senku and Taiju. I probably said those names wrong again, I apologise. I did try and look on YouTube, but it's so hard to find character pronunciation guides for manga. Like if somebody made videos like how to pronounce all the names in Dr. Stone, oh my god, why isn't there something already like this? Unless there is, and I'm just dumb and I missed it. Can't be as dumb apparently as Taiju. I love him though, he has such a great personality. He does give some like golden retriever energy, and I do feel bad for him, the fact that he gets called a big oaf quite a lot. But yeah, the global event happens really quickly and Taiju is about to confess his love for this girl. But then yeah, everyone turns into stone. I think it's for about 3,700 years. And then Senku ends up coming out of this stasis about 6 months before Taiju ends up, you know, coming out of it too. To begin with, it's only those two who have come out of this weird thing that's happened. And I have no idea what went on there, and I don't even know if we do end up finding out what happened. But I need to know why everyone was petrified into stone. I need to know how. And why was it Senku who was the first one to come out of it? Just so many questions, so many questions. But it's so interesting though to see how they come out of that and how they adapt to this new world. Thousands of years later, even some of the panels of this new world look so beautiful. Scary though, because when you think of the implications of it, like the actual dangers that will happen now, and it was even mentioned very briefly because there are like lines and stuff, and Senku even says, we're not top of the food chain anymore. And like that sent a shiver down my spine, because I was like, okay, but what else is out there? What else is out there that's going to kill us? But I love the dynamic between Senku and Taiju. I think they have such great banter and they work so well together. Okay, there is something that I can't mention because of spoilers, but yeah, just know that I was a little bit worried at certain points in terms of like the characters, not like the actual story. I thought from the get-go the story was so engrossing, but character-wise I was definitely worried for them at some points. And like I've left volume 1 now just so super intrigued by not just the event, the calamity that happened that petrified everyone, but also things that have been introduced too, and some character decisions that might come back to bite them in the butt. So that part is literally incredibly exciting. So funny too, there were some really good funny moments. There was like one about Senku and Taiju being like Adam and Eve, and then Taiju was like, how can we be Adam and Eve when we're two guys? And then Senku was like, it's a metaphor. It's just like they have that kind of relationship, and it's just so funny to watch. So I'm really happy with this one. I'm definitely going to be continuing on. I'm getting volume 2 the next time I'm going into a manga shop, which I will hopefully do in this video at some point. Okay, I'm trying to do this wheel thing on my phone. Hopefully it will change things up a bit and we will have a manga that's on the other side of the alphabet because it is randomized and there are 26 left now, so I just really want something different. So let's see what we're reading next. Ooh, okay, finally, right. It's on the other side. Yeah, it's on the other side of the alphabet, so I'm really happy about that. I think it's another fantasy type one. It's downstairs at the minute, so I'm not going to run down and get it just now. But it is another fantasy type one, I believe. Or is it Vinland Saga? I think it's Vikings, actually. So it might not actually be fantasy. It might not actually be fantasy. It is. I'm sure it is Vikings, though. I'm sure it's Vikings. Oh my god. I want to end up going into like what it's actually about in the next bit and totally kick myself because I just got it so wrong. So it's probably more like historical Viking drama, maybe. It was honestly wonderful last night, reading Vinland Saga in my bedroom with the skylights and the rain hitting the skylight windows. Just absolutely beautiful. It's not often I get to read for fun, and even though I read this for a video like this video, a video project, it still felt like I was reading for fun. It still felt like I was making this choice to just do it because I wanted to do it. And I can't tell you, as a content creator, how incredible it feels to read something that just makes you feel like you don't have to put the effort in, or like I can just read it for enjoyment and not have to be all analytical or anything like that. I mean, I would love to continue Vinland Saga, as I've mentioned about every series so far, and do more in-depth discussions, like spoiler-filled discussions on Vinland Saga, maybe on each arc, but I think for now, just having it to enjoy, to consume for just pure enjoyment is just such a wonderful feeling. Now, I did just read the first 5 chapters of this because I believe this is a bind up of volume 1 and 2. So just to make it fair on all of the other books that I'm reading in this video, I thought I would just stick to the first 5 chapters. And honestly, the temptation to just continue reading was there, and I most likely will end up just reading volume 2 just on a whim over the next couple of days, just so that I can finish this book. I'm not the biggest fan of stopping halfway through a book and just putting it aside for however long. So hopefully that shows you how much I enjoyed this. I thought it was so good. It starts off like with so much action. You know, we are in the middle of this battle and there are people dying left, right and center. And then we have this young boy, I believe his name is Thorfinn, and he wants to get vengeance. It does mention on the back what Thorfinn is trying to get vengeance for, but I'm wondering, should I mention it in this video? I don't know. I was told that the anime only watchers weren't told of this thing that happens. It's more chronological than it is actually showing you the sort of present day and then going back in time to this event that sparks Thorfinn's vengeance, which I'm being so vague about, I apologize. But I do have a sense of dread now, knowing what is going to happen and what's coming. And yeah, I am just dying to finish off this book. I do love the fact that we had such a mega first chapter. It was like 90 pages. And just to briefly tell you what this is kind of about, I'm not 100% sure. It feels like it's going to be very character driven moving forward. But yeah, this is Vikings, and there is a place called Vinland. It sounds like a paradise. It's a land without war or slavery, and I believe this is the goal, to reach Vinland. It is a very interesting premise, and I haven't really read anything Viking related, unless you count How to Train Your Dragon, which is what I named my channel after, so you know that I'm digging the Viking vibes. I also dabbled in a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Wasn't the biggest fan of what I tried, but I do love that atmosphere. I do love the Viking legend and trying to learn as much as possible with all of that. And it does feel like the author has done their research, and it feels so genuine, and I can really feel that through how great the characters are so far. I'm feeling myself getting invested in their story. I'm not the biggest fan of big wars and big battles and clashes that happen in manga. It's not my favorite part of like One Piece, for example, but what I do love are characters and their story, and it seems like Vinland Saga is going to be very character driven moving forward, and I'm really excited to see what happens next in Thorfinn's journey, as well as this really great premise that, again, I feel like I could mention because it does say on the back, but at the same time I said spoiler free, so I'm going to keep it very, very spoiler free. But just know I really enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Dr. Stone though, so I think this is probably going to be my second favourite so far of what I've read so far, just because I think this was probably a lot more subtle. I think, I mean, not the first chapter of course, but I think after that, you know, we did get a little bit more subtlety in the storytelling, which is not a bad thing at all. But I do think with Dr. Stone, I think I was just way, way, way more intrigued throughout, and I'm just like really, really excited about that one. But I do think it was better than Jujutsu Kaisen, so yeah, I think second place so far is great. And just know as well that I'm not ranking all of these based on the entire story, just on the first volumes, so I'm more than positive that this will just get much better as it goes on. Not that this was even bad either, it's just like, yeah, you know what I mean. I feel like 5 is a good little checkpoint, and yeah, this is what I've read so far, this is how I rank them, and I feel like this is a really good mix so far. Let's hope the next thing will be something totally different, something new. I do seem to lean a lot into shonen, which is fine. Going back to the computer now, hoping this will, again, make something different out of what we've been reading so far. Let's do this. I'm actually so happy about that. Fruits Basket is what I'm reading next, and this is a collector's edition, so I will research, see where volume 1 ends, and yeah, I'm just excited to have something that is definitely not like the other ones, something that's not shonen either. Okay, I'm wearing the same shirt as yesterday, but that's because I'm filming my One Piece Whole Cake Island video, doing it over 2 days, and I like to keep continuity. I read the first 6 chapters, which is volume 1 of Fruits Basket, and I liked it. I thought it was nice, I thought it was pleasant. I don't think it's like blown me away or anything. I like the premise of it. I like the fact that we have this young girl, Toru. She loses her mother, and while her grandfather's getting his house renovated, she ends up living in a tent. And it's right next to where she has a really popular classmate. Her classmate is called Yuki, and he lives there with another guy, I've forgotten his name, and another person comes in called Kaio, who is his cousin. And I love the rivalry between Kaio and Yuki. I think they are so funny. Just saying like how they interact and stuff, I think it's like brilliant. I love the character interactions, absolutely. I love Toru as a character too. She seems so driven, and I love the fact that she tries so hard to be so self-sufficient. She is probably like one of the better protagonists I've read in one of the manga books I've read for this video so far. There is a catch with Yuki, and I think it's his brother. Is it his older brother or something who he lives with? But whenever they're embraced by the opposite sex, they turn into one of the animals from the Chinese zodiac, which is an interesting premise, very interesting premise. It was definitely weird learning more about that as the first volume was going on. The story was a little bit messy, and a lot of it does also take place in high school, and I'm just not really that fussed about high school stories, especially since every single time they're there, there's usually young girls throwing themselves at Yuki, or even now Kaio. It's like I don't really care about the high school romance drama stuff that happens, but you know, that's just a part of the story, so I don't hate it. Just didn't care a whole lot for it. But Toru is such a great main character to watch progress, and seeing how she's incorporating herself in this like new family I guess she's found. I wonder if this will be a story that continues to have the theme of found family, maybe, and those themes are ones that I love. Like everything else in this video, I will continue reading. I will also finish out the rest of the collector's edition volume 1 too. I'm sure loads more happens after the first 6 chapters, but just basing it on volume 1 alone, I didn't love it. So it's probably going to be bottom of my rankings for now. I think I will put it below Demon Slayer, and then we'll see how we get on. Right, let's see what I need to read next. Also, I do want to quickly mention as well that Fruits Basket was a very refreshing change though. It was nice to have something a little bit more low-key and a bit more sweet and nice, especially since I have just finished the Berserk Golden Age arc, which floored me, and the other things I've been reading so far in this video, apart from the first one, Food Wars, has been a little bit heavy. So it was really, really nice change. I do want to also point that out. But yes, we are going to see what the wheel gives for us next. Okay. Black Clover. It looks like it's in the same vein as Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer a little bit, but because I've just read Fruits Basket, very, very glad to have this. Let's dive into the world of mages and wizard kings. Oh man, I found one that I'm not a big fan of. Nothing too wrong with it really, I'm just finding myself really hard getting into the story, and I feel like it was hard because I just don't like the main character. This one follows Asta, and we have a world where there are wizards, and he is desperate to be the Wizard King, and he hasn't got any magic, so it's going to be an upward battle for him to do that. And there are grimoires as well that each wizard gets. And overall, I'm just not really caring about the story. I don't really care for the goal that Asta is doing. I think because in the very first chapter, Asta just wouldn't stop screaming, and it just felt like he was screaming at me, and I was getting so fed up and annoyed with him that it made it impossible for me to like him as the story went on. And there were definitely moments when I saw some likability, and I do really respect his drive and the fact that he is a bit of an underdog. There are so many themes that I do gel with, but I just don't like him. And I just don't think I'm interested enough to even continue reading the rest of the series. I don't think the story itself stands out too much either. While I do like the idea of grimoires, like I say, nothing really new or anything that continues to captivate me. It just felt a bit cliche and predictable, and it doesn't stand out. So yeah, I don't think I want to bother continuing Black Clover, it's definitely my least favourite of the vlog so far, so I would definitely put it underneath Fruits Basket. But who knows, maybe if this was my very first manga ever, maybe I would have enjoyed it more, but I just feel like it's been there, done that, and I just don't think I'm ever going to like the main character. And that for me is a huge deterrent, because if I don't really gel with the main character, I'm just not really going to get on with the story. Sometimes main characters are supposed to be unlikable, but I don't think the main character is supposed to be unlikable. He's just so annoying. So unfortunately, I'm going to probably give the rest of the series a skip. That was a really short review because I just don't really have anything to say about it. I just wanted it to be over with, which is probably not what you want to hear. I apologise to all the Black Clover fans. I really do. Please forgive me. Right, I'm going to do this spin the wheel on my phone again this time. Let's switch this up. See if we get something. What do I fancy? I fancy anything at this point. Oh, I'm actually so glad. I am so glad that that one came up. It was very close to being either Bleach or Attack on Titan. More so Attack on Titan, which I am so excited to read. But I think after Black Clover, a more contemporary story will be so beneficial for me right now. I can't believe that when I first hauled this book, I believe I said this was about basketball, not volleyball. I apologise. I bet I rubbed so many people up the wrong way when I said that. I do believe there is a basketball sports manga out there called Slam Dunk. I saw the first volume in Forbidden Planet the other day, and I was tempted to pick it up. Should I? Should I still pick it up next time I'm there? If they still have it. But I'm intrigued, because I do really like sports manga. I think this is this the first one I've ever read sports manga-wise? It might be, but I like it. I like it a lot. This one follows Shoyo, and he wants to be part of volleyball. He once saw his great childhood volleyball hero play, and now he wants to be the greatest volleyball player ever. And he isn't naturally skilled at volleyball, but we do see him try and persevere. He is very good at jumping though, so like that was pretty awesome to see. And who knows, maybe moving forward this will be something that we will explore more of, and maybe will help him try and win competitions that he might go into or things like that. At the minute, I'm really loving his sort of frenemy dynamic with Tobio. And I love the fact that even though Tobio is a little bit of a, well, what's the word? A block, he still seems to be wanting Shoyo to be better. And I honestly didn't think that high school volleyball would interest me that much. There was a part of me that was like slightly intrigued because I have heard great things about it, but I didn't think I would actually enjoy it as much as I did. Even just like trying to talk about it doesn't sound the most interesting, but I really enjoyed following the characters. I really do like Shoyo as a main character, especially after reading Black Clover. I think anybody in comparison will be better than the main character in that one. What was his name again? Aster? Yeah. Watch. I bet you I end up reading more Black Clover in the future, and then I end up loving him. I bet you. But I am way more intrigued in Haikyuu. But I want to see Shoyo succeed in Haikyuu. I want to see where he ends up at. I do quite like competitions and things like that, so I do think there will be more things like that coming up. The small cast and team of characters that we have so far do seem very interesting, and I just can't wait to see more of the frenemy dynamic between Shoyo and Tobio. I just think they're going to be so interesting to follow, and just to see if they do end up helping one another, improving one another, and learning from each other. I'm really rooting for them. At the minute, I think I will put it under Food Wars in terms of ranking, which puts it in the top 5 for now. But hey, I think maybe I might be a new fan of sports manga, and I now wish I had more. In fact, was this the only one? I think this was the only sports manga in this video, unfortunately. I am currently on reading sprints with my friend Jade, and we did do a spin the wheel just before we started the reading sprint. So these are all the ones that I have left. And I am hoping that we get Toilet Bound Hanako, and I feel like that's the right one since I have such a huge fan here. And the reason I even picked it up in the first place, get the show on the road. I want to know what it is. This is the best part of doing this video. Can't be Toilet Bound. Oh man, it's 2:08. Damn it.
At some point.
It may end up being the bloody last one at this rate. I swear.
Say the best.
I didn't read a summary going into Assassination Classroom, and I was so surprised by what it was actually about. I did hear about it because I'm sure it was banned in some schools in America because of the subject matter, so all I knew is that there were kids in a classroom who need to assassinate their teacher because they're an alien from another planet, which is exactly what the premise is. But I didn't realize just like how, what's the word, like part of it is very silly, and like the balance of it is so cool, right? This is so hard to talk about. We do have this alien creature that is going to destroy the planet after graduation, and this teacher is assigned to a specific class, a class of, I guess, misfits, or like people who don't fit in anywhere else and people who aren't as smart as everyone else, essentially. And only this classroom is allowed to try and kill this alien. And this alien teacher, this is like the face of it. I didn't realize that was what it actually looked like, the face. But literally, as soon as you open the book, right, you have the teacher telling everyone to stand for the pledge, and the next page, all of the students are pointing their guns at it. I was like, okay, that was like really quick. Definitely the quickest start to a premise of a manga I've read so far. But no matter what, nobody can actually assassinate the alien. The alien's too fast, it's too smart, and all assassination attempts fail. But they need to kill this alien before graduation, otherwise, yeah, the Earth will be destroyed. But it's so silly at the same time because this teacher is like, oh, great assassination attempt. You're so close, but you're just so far. And there are even moments when the teacher's like giving them tips. I'm just like, this is so odd. This is so odd. There's a part of me that's already feeling some wholesomeness between this teacher and their class. And I don't know if we actually will end the series with Earth being destroyed because of this teacher, or if they will be successful in their assassination attempt. But there's some part of me that's like, oh, they're going to end up bonding, aren't they? Or at least that's what I'm hoping for. I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's only 21 volumes, so I feel like this one's going to be a really easy one to be able to get my hands on and consume all of it. I just love how in manga the summary can be so very odd, and it can still be the most engrossing thing you read. I don't have a grasp on all of the characters or character names just yet because it is a classroom of people, so there are quite a few people in there. And I do think we ended up getting a little bit repetitive by the end of the volume. Because yeah, there's only so many times these kids can attempt an assassination attempt and fail. But also just the storytelling aspect of it, because we're repeatedly told, oh, this is our teacher, we need to assassinate him, he's going to destroy Earth. There's little things like that that just keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated. That at the end of it, I was like, okay, I know this is what you need to do. You don't need to keep telling me that. So I'm hoping going forward, there won't be too much repetitiveness with it. Hopefully there are other little curveballs to it, because it is such a unique premise. But 21 volumes, kids trying to assassinate their teacher, that could get boring pretty quickly. So it could go one or two ways for Assassination Classroom. But hopefully it stays interesting. Hopefully it keeps reinventing itself and making it fun and engaging. And yeah, I can understand a little bit why some schools would be a bit wary of this one. But honestly, if you read it, the humor of it, it just doesn't seem too serious. And it is a pretty good time. I feel it's a pretty good time. So I will probably put this one 5th on the leaderboard at the minute. I think I will put it under Food Wars, but above Haikyuu. Definitely going to continue, especially knowing that the series is finished and there's only 21 volumes. Okay, let's spin that wheel. Ooh, so close to being Bleach, but I want to try and find out how to pronounce this. But we have something very, very different to what I've been reading so far. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And when I went to Forbidden Planet the other day, I saw that volumes 2 and 3 were there. So if I end up liking this, I could end up continuing the series pretty quickly. Right, I think this is pronounced Orochi, I think. But this was so weird. This was so weird. This is slightly horrific, slightly disturbing, and also quite old as well. I was looking it up, and I believe this originally came out in 1969. So I do think this is like the oldest manga I've ever read, and I really do like it almost feels a little bit dated in terms of like the art style. It's just so, I don't know how to describe it, but it's so solid. Like the blacks and the lines are just so solid. It gives a more vintage kind of feeling to it. I guess it's like the way that they're drawn and their faces are so, yeah, vintage. Orochi is this woman, I don't actually know her age, but she seems to find herself in wrong place, wrong time. But then I don't know if that is actually the case because there's something strange about her. This book is split into 2 stories, and they are 2 very separate short stories, I guess. But the thing that connects them is that we have Orochi, and she is there both times, and she is part of the plot. She is somebody who interacts with the characters. But it's just so bizarre. So like in the first story, we have sisters. It's called Sisters. And we have 2 sisters. And on their 18th birthday, they turn ugly. And this is like leading up to their 18th birthday. And just really weird things happen. And then the second story is called Bones. And it's about a woman who ends up marrying someone. He ends up dying after falling off a cliff. And Orochi brings him back to life. Yeah, things happen from that. I will say the second story was a little bit predictable. I could kind of guess the twist, but only because there was a twist in the first story. So I was like, oh, okay, so I had no idea what I was expecting going into this. I don't even know how to describe this book or the series. So when I started reading this, and I realized that there were 2 short stories, and the first short story had a twist, I was like, okay, so the second short story is going to have a twist, isn't it? So I ended up guessing what the twist would be, and lo and behold, turned out to be right. So there is some predictability to it, but this is, yeah, such an old manga now. 1969. I had no idea it was that old. So I kind of have to give it some leeway there. I feel like if you're a fan of Junji Ito, and I haven't read any Junji Ito yet, by the way, I do want to do a video reading all of Junji Ito later this year. But I believe this one might have inspired Junji Ito. So if you are a fan of Junji Ito, then you might end up liking this. Just know that it's a little bit older. But I do want to know what Orichi's deal is. Like, who is she? What in the world? Like, how is she finding herself in like totally different areas, interacting with these characters, and each time something really weird happens? You know, it's psychological, it's paranormal, it's supernatural. What? So I'm wondering if, because I do know there's a volume 2, 3, and 4, so I wonder if maybe we learn more about her, but also there's a part of me that's like, I hope we don't learn too much, because what we don't know is better than what we do know, if you know what I mean. Like, the author did such a good job with keeping intrigue and mystery up, so hopefully it continues with the next 3 volumes, which I will definitely be checking out now. So I don't actually know how to rank this compared to everything else, to be honest. I've brought the first 9 books here in ranking order because this is the 10th, and I feel like that's such a good milestone for this video. I'll put it below Haikyuu and above Demon Slayer. It was weird, it was wonderful, and I love horror, I love weird things, so it definitely scratched that itch. So I have my wheel up, let's see what we are reading next. Ooh, okay. Dead Man Wonderland. Dead Man Wonderland it is. I seem to do this thing now where I read the book very late at night, usually around about like midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning, and then give you my review the morning after. So I did read this last night, like very late last night, and I once again enjoyed it. I love the premise of it, and I feel like I'm repeating myself every single bloody book. But the premise of this one, there is a boy called Gante, and he is at school, and it is, I guess, a little bit like Assassination Classroom, but the reverse. But, I mean, we still had that similar setting at the very start, but instead of, you know, the students trying to assassinate their teacher, the kids are massacred in this one. And Gante is the sole survivor of it, and there was, like, this really weird red man that did it, but Gante is the one who is framed for the murder. So, I mean, I guess not really like Assassination Classroom, but can you kind of say the parallels a little bit? It's probably because I've just read them almost back to back that I'm just thinking of the 2 together. But this one is definitely not teen. In fact, it gave a little bit of Squid Game vibes because Gante ends up going to this prison facility called Dead Man Wonderland, where it's pretty much also an attraction for people to come, pay money, and are trying to fund more money into Tokyo. So like they're using like the prisoners as a sort of entertainment for the masses. So there are these attractions that people can watch, and there is like this game in this volume, and it's very dangerous. There was, again, no spoilers, but just to give you an idea of what you can expect from, I guess, the gore of this, there was something that like comes down like a swinging pendulum, like this big axe thing, and it does like bisect someone, and you see that, and it's just so harrowing and horrific. So definitely not teen, I think just a little bit older. Saying that though, I feel like it's not too dark. I feel like there are definitely moments of levity, especially with Shiro. That's her there. Honestly, I love her. I love it. She's probably my favourite character of any of the manga that I've read so far in this video. She is just so fun and so carefree, and she really does add a lot of lightness to the story. But there's also a part of me that's like, oh my god, like she does something, again, I'm not going to say what it is, but like she does something for the main character and you're just like, oh my god, but like she's so sweet and such like a nice person. So far anyway. She could change, she could end up becoming a villain, I guess, but I loved her in volume 1. And Ganta is fine too, you know, he is going through a lot of changes, and you know, being incarcerated for a crime he didn't commit is like horrific, and he did see all of his classmates die. That is horrific. So yeah, I definitely feel like Shiro is the lightness to Ganta's darkness at the minute. So interesting though, again, like I'm just blown away by the sheer level of imagination that a lot of these mangas are presenting to me in this video. I believe there is another manga called Alice in Borderland that I really want to check out. I think it might have similar vibes to Dead Man Wonderland, but I believe the series has already completed 13 volumes, and that's not a lot of volumes, so actually I feel like I could realistically read the entire thing in one go at some point, because I would definitely continue. At the minute, I think I would put it underneath Assassination Classroom, but above Haikyuu. So at the minute, it's like number 6 out of 11. The standard of what I've been reading in this video has been quite high. There's only really been one that I really didn't love all that much, and again, that's still Black Clover. Everything else I've still enjoyed to a certain extent. And because I haven't really read a whole lot of manga, I'm still quite newish to it. I feel like I am entertained by pretty much everything that I read. As soon as I read more, I'm sure my tastes will develop, so please bear that in mind. I'm still a noob. But now for the best part, let's spin the wheel. I fancy everything, to be honest. Ooh. Okay, Rainbow Days. So close to being Blue Exorcist, but it is actually Rainbow Days, which is contemporary, I believe. So again, a nice change from the past few books. Well, we managed to do it. We did find another manga that I didn't really like. I feel like it might be a little bit unfair because this isn't really... well, it doesn't really go with a lot of the manga in here. I mean, even though there are some contemporaries like Food Wars and Haikyuu. And I was worried that we have a high school setting, but I mean, Haikyuu was absolutely fine. And even Fruits Basket, the high school setting in some of the scenes, I wasn't the biggest fan of. So I was a little bit worried going into this, and my worries were realised. I'm just not really into the whole high school romance thing, unless it is LGBTQ+, and it's more wholesome. But this one's about the straights. This one is about the straights. When I first picked it up, I thought it might be LGBTQ+, because of the title, Rainbow Days. But when I heard it in a video a few months back, someone said, that's not LGBTQ+. And I was like, shit. This book is about 4 high school boys, all straight, and they all want girlfriends or have girlfriends, and it's their sort of pursuit of happiness. Each of the boys are different. We have one of them who's like a little bit wholesome, and he wants to be like, you know, a shoujo romance hero, essentially, and he's trying to find the perfect girl. And we have the other boys as well who fit into different categories, and at the end of the day they do have this really cool sort of friendship, which I do like seeing that develop. They do have good banter with one another, and I feel like I haven't seen a whole lot of good straight friends depicted in a lot of books or manga, so I feel like that was pretty well done. However, I don't really like a couple of the characters, like to the point where I'm just like, I just really don't like it. There was one of them, and his girlfriend dyes her hair orange to cosplay, and he's like, I only like girls with black hair, dye it. And she's like, yeah, but it's for a cosplay. And he's like, I don't care, dye it black. And I'm just like, oh, it's just so controlling and so possessive. I know he's like a high school student, which, you know, people learn. I get that. So that's not the worst thing. The worst thing in this was that in, like, I guess it is sort of a mild spoiler, but it's more like, it's not about like a plot twist or anything. It's more like a character decision and what someone does. If you don't want to be spoiled by it, then just like skip ahead. But what happens in this is that there is a girl who confesses that she loves her friend, so it implies that she's a lesbian. Like, she hates men, so she can't be bisexual, she is a lesbian. And the response of the boy she tells is, and he's one of the main characters, can't remember his name, I didn't care to remember his name. He shuts her up by kissing her on the lips without her asking, without her consent. And she is disgusted and appalled by it because she's just confessed that she's in love with her best friend, who is a girl. and he's done this, and she is disgusted, repulsed, she runs away, and he says, that was so cute. Like nothing was wrong. I'm just like, that is just awful. And if you can hear my cats playing in the background, it's early-ish. So yeah, they're just doing that. I say early-ish. I accidentally slept in today. I'm doing sprints with Jade again and I slept in. God damn it. But anyway, back to this. I just don't really care for high school romances. I realised, unless it's LGBTQ+ and it's wholesome and it's not explicit at all. There was another character in this as well who was into BDSM. I'm just like, you're a high school kid. Do I really need to know that? And like, how? It felt really odd for it being a high school romance. And honestly, if you enjoy this kind of thing, I'm not bashing you or anything. It's just not my thing. Unless it's wholesome and it isn't just about the romance. Like say Given. I love Given. That is a high school romance between two guys, but that's also to do with music and forming a band and stuff like that. So I love Given. But Rainbow Days, the straights just aren't my thing. So as you can probably guess from my review, this one is coming bottom of the rankings so far. I feel like maybe if I did read this when I was younger, and if I was more into high school romance, then I think I probably would have liked it more. Maybe I could have overlooked some of the terrible characters in this, because I guess the main character, the one who at the start had his heart broken by a girl, he was endearing and he was a good character to follow, but it was very hit or miss and I just didn't love it overall.
There it is.
Oh yeah, it is. Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
Spin
Right.
the wheel.
What am I fancying? I'm fancying Toilet Bound
Yeah.
or Iona of the Dawn. I feel like those two, I'll be great. Let's have a look.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see. It might be. Oh no, it's going to be Sailor Moon. It's going to be Sailor...
It's
Oh,
gonna
I'm
be
so
Sailor
close to being
Moon.
Toilet Bound.
So close.
So
But it's
close. But
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon, which I mean, I'm still happy with because I really can't wait to read Sailor Moon. You know how I've just finished Rainbow Days and that ended up bottom of my ranking? Well, I finished Sailor Moon and I think this is going to go on the top of my rankings. I love this. It was so much fun. It definitely reminded me of the 90s TV shows I used to watch, like Charmed and Buffy, where they would find out they were chosen one, although Buffy already knew before the pilot. Like say Charmed, for example, where they find out they are the chosen ones in the first episode and it goes through them navigating their new role. And this is kind of the same. Each chapter has been rather episodic, but we do follow a character called Usagi, I think her name is, but she becomes Sailor Moon. She ends up running into this like cute cat called Luna, and it has this crescent-shaped moon on its forehead, but don't say it's a bald spot. Do not say it's a bald spot because she will claw you. And yeah, she ends up telling Usagi that she is Sailor Moon. She is one of the guardians who needs to protect the princess. And I believe this, what was it, a silver crystal? The legendary silver crystal, I think it's called. I don't think it has a proper official name, just legendary silver crystal. And there are also people after that. So there is this like running thing of like this main villain who is after this crystal. And there are also like little villains that we kind of conquer in each chapter. I will say though that this is very easy, as in the fights are quite easy. It seems like there isn't too much struggle, and especially since Sailor Moon, this is her first time being part of this world where there are villains and she has to fight, like she seems to be able to overcome it quite easily. But I don't think that's a detriment to the story. In fact, it adds to a lot of the charm, because Sailor Moon herself, she is just so endearing. I absolutely love the way that she goes on. Like she's usually sleeping in late and she has this like really wacky personality almost. She's just so funny to watch. I love her building up the team of guardians and like finding the others, because so far the characters have felt so real and so great. They've each been a bit relatable. There was one, I can't remember her name. I will get better with names, but because I'm reading so many different first volumes of manga, there's so many new characters that are just coming into my brain. This one here. I believe she's Sailor Mars, and it's on the chapter about the Ghost Bride and about how like the Ghost Bride lures men in, and she's blaming the man for that. She's like, I just don't trust men. Great. I love it. I love it so much. Like, it's such a random little thing to even bring up, but I just think she is awesome. I think all of them are awesome so far, and I can totally see myself continuing the series and absolutely fall in love with it. Could potentially end up being a new obsession. I don't know. I'm so surprised that I didn't actually read this sooner or see the TV show sooner either. You can bet your ass I want to end up watching this too. I'm just in love. I'm just in love. So interested about this crystal thing now. I'm so interested to see if they will be able to protect the princess, and I'm interested to see if there are more Sailor Moon people, Sailor people, guardians, yeah, more guardians in this. And yeah, it was just so much fun.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, right.
Reveal.
What are we hoping for? What are we hoping for?
Obviously Toilet Bound, but maybe that will be like a best till last situation. Oh, I wouldn't mind you starting My Hero Academia, because then you can let me know if you think I would like it.
Yeah.
Because that's another one that I've been thinking about maybe dipping into.
I wonder if it makes a difference if that spinny bit here is on it when I click it. Like, I want to test the theory. Like, will it land on where that bit is when I click? Right, I'll wait until My Hero Academia comes around. I'll click it when it's on, and we'll see if that's the theory. We'll see if that happens. Because if so, then I can rig the hell out of this.
Go!
Well, let's see. If it is, that's shocking.
It's not.
No. Blue Exorcist.
Blue Exorcist, though. Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
I have volume 1 of that as well. I haven't started it yet, but I own it.
Oh, well, I can also let you know if it's any good or not. I think Blue Exorcist is a case of I absolutely loved the concept of it, but I feel like so much was overloaded in the first volume that it meant I didn't really care a whole lot for anything that was going on. Without spoilers, this is mentioned on the back, and I guess part of the initial selling point of this book is that we follow Rin, and he is the son of Satan, and he is just like a normal boy really, but he just has that added quirk, you know. But he is being raised by Father Fujimoto, who is an exorcist, and honestly, like, all of these buzzwords here are things that I absolutely love. Exorcist, demon, Satan, I love those ideas, but I think we just blasted through so much in this volume. I didn't know where to look. Honestly, those moments standing on their own, absolutely great. Great, exciting moments. But I feel like we could have benefited from having a chapter or two in between these chapters, just so that we can, you know, slow down a little bit and get to know our characters and like really feel for their situations and all of that. But it was like these big things were happening and it was asking me to care, and I just couldn't care because it was happening too fast. I even love the idea of going to True Cross Academy, which is where a lot of exorcists train, and Rin is wanting to train there, and it all sounds good and well, but even then I just found it so hard to connect with the characters and what was actually happening. I don't know, I just feel like maybe it was a little bit rushed. I would consider maybe continuing the series, but only after reading a whole lot of other series, quite honestly. So, like, in terms of ranking this volume 1, I would put it beneath Fruits Basket, but above Black Clover. I think Fruits Basket is where I'm at in terms of I would continue, and anything below Fruits Basket right now is, I mean, potentially if I have nothing else to read, but I don't really want to continue too passionately. And I'm sure it does get better. I'm sure it does have a lot more going for it because, as I said, like exorcists, demons, and all of that, it does sound fantastic. It does. I think it's just a case of maybe too much being overloaded in the first volume that it kind of puts me off a bit. There is actually a sibling dynamic in this that I liked. If I'm looking for positives, I do think that kind of worked well by the end of the story. It's a very complex relationship, and the artwork too I quite liked. Well, it didn't blow me away, but it didn't hurt my eyes either. It was very enjoyable to look at, and I say potential, I do. It's just a shame that I just couldn't feel like I could connect. Right, let's see what we have in store next. Oh my god, I was thinking Bleach. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding, I was thinking Bleach. I'm not even kidding, because I think Bleach and Blue Exorcist might be similar in a way. So I was thinking Bleach. Not that I wanted exactly to read Bleach next, but I was thinking it before it happened. I swear, why didn't I say it out loud? Oh my god, you guys are going to think I'm lying. But I'm not, I promise. Okay, manga number 15 is Bleach, and once this is done, I'm officially halfway through this challenge. I feel like I'm going to have to start watching the first episode of the anime whenever I finish a volume so that I know how to pronounce these names. Ichigo, the main character of Bleach, and also Rukia. Oh my god. Anyway, I really enjoy them, and I enjoyed this story too. So this one follows Ichigo, and he has the ability to see ghosts. Now, I used to be a big fan of Ghost Whisperer back in the day, and as soon as I knew that this was about like seeing ghosts and things, I actually bought the box set of this back in December or January. So I have the entire first box set of Bleach, I think the first 21 volumes. And I knew from then that I really wanted to read this. And I know it's also one of the big three alongside One Piece and Naruto. And obviously I've been reading and loving One Piece, and I've read the first volume of Naruto. So Bleach was the last of the big three that I needed to read. And boy, am I glad I read this. Not just because now I feel justified in buying the entire first box set. It was cheap though, to be fair. But now I'll be able to continue reading the books because I already have the first 21 volumes. So I was just thinking ahead. But yes, we have Ichigo, and he is the main character. He has the ability to see ghosts, and then one day he is visited by this Soul Reaper, Rukia, and she then tells him about the Soul Society. And what I love about this is that even though maybe the premise is a little bit similar to other things that I've read in this, when you think of kind of institutions like in Blue Exorcist, where like they have like an academy for exorcists, and the Soul Society hasn't really been shown yet. We have been very eased into the world of this. Like, I don't feel too overwhelmed like I was with Blue Exorcist, for instance. I do feel like enough happened, like loads of things happened. The first, I would say, how many chapters was this again? 6 or 7? Okay, there were 7 chapters in this, and I would say like the first 6 of them were very action-packed and great at, you know, setting up the world and what the rules of the world are and what to expect moving forward. And honestly, I teared up a little bit in chapter 6. I thought, this is actually quite emotional. So the fact that the first volume was able to do that to me, it speaks volumes of the actual story. Also, I love the humor in this. There was a moment when I think it was Ichigo flipped over a table, and on the table it says caution for use in sight gags only. That made me laugh so much. I feel like so much of this, well, I didn't exactly laugh out loud at a lot of this, but like I was smirking a lot of the times. I was just enjoying myself, but there was also like a really heavy story to it too. So I love the balance of it. I think the author did a fantastic job, or the mangaka, I guess I should probably get used to calling them. But honestly, what a wonderful start. I really enjoyed it. The sibling dynamic was great. The friendships that Ichigo has, great. The banter between Rukia and Ichigo, amazing. So I actually think this is going to be my number 1 at the minute. I think this is my favourite volume 1 so far in this video. Hopefully it stays up for the rest of the series. I know it's ended now. I think we're like maybe 74 volumes. It's easy. I'm currently on volume 87 of One Piece. So if I can do that, I can do anything. Okay, let's see what we have next. Finally. Toilet Bound Hanakoken. Finally. I honestly can't believe that we're now just over halfway through on this challenge now. It's flying by. Toilet Bound Hanakoken was so much fun. I read this last night in bed, and my gosh, I was like, I kind of want to read the second volume right now. I did describe this as a sort of like Aladdin genie in the lamp, but like a ghost that grants wishes in a toilet kind of thing in a video where I hold this. And obviously I'm completely wrong on that. And you know, some of those ideas still stand. We do have Hanakoken, who is one of the 7 mysteries of this school. And I believe it's based on actual Japanese urban legend. Although I think it's Hanako-san is the original Japanese folktale urban legend of a young girl ghost. But I love the fact that we have a different spin on that in this, and the fact that it's part of these 7 mysteries of this school, because it also reminds me of in Kingdom Hearts 2 there is these 7 wonders in Twilight Town, and it reminded me of that, and I was having such a blast with that kind of storyline. So we do have the ghost. There was another one as well where there was like, if you go on the 4th step, you kind of get transported to this other world and you don't really come back alive, and there's like blood on the stairs and stuff like that. It's like really creepy little things like that, and I was eating it up. The female main character, Nini, I think her name is pronounced, when she summons Hanakoken, things transpire and she ends up becoming the assistant to this ghost, and I love that dynamic so much. But we kind of blast through some of these 7 mysteries in this first volume alone, and I'm just like, is there going to be like more mysteries after the initial 7 mysteries in the future? Because yeah, I'm like kind of worried that we'll blast through the entire premise, well, the entire first initial intriguing premise of the story, and it'll become something totally different, which I won't mind if the author can do it really well. But it's the 7 mysteries angle of this that I'm just absolutely loving. And it does remind me of when I was in primary school, there was this like urban legend of a janitor who died in our school, and he would haunt the toilets, or like he would haunt the area around the toilets. So it really does feed into the imagination that you have as a child and urban legends and things like that. I just love urban legends so much. So this was surprisingly funny and also surprisingly dark at times too. The art style is really quite nice, and you do have like this dichotomy between things being really light and the darkness that you can find within this. It's seriously not what I was expecting going into it. But hey, I'm so excited to see where this world goes, how it builds, all the different other things that can possibly happen and the different mysteries. Yeah, it's so good. I believe it's like maybe 19 volumes so far. There's quite a few volumes now. In terms of ranking, I would probably put this underneath Vinland Saga and above Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen is another one that deals with like some paranormal things like this one, but if I was to choose between Toilet Bound Hanakoken and Jujutsu Kaisen, which one I would prefer to continue right here, right now, it will be this one. So I think 5th for Toilet Bound Hanakoken is the best place for it right now. You know, it's cracked the top 5. I'm really, really happy with it. My friend Jade loves it for a reason, and now I know why. Whatever I spin, I will be able to read today before my book club later. So yeah, what am I fancying today? Anything. Honestly, I don't even think I have preferences anymore. Let's just go for it. My Hero Academia. Hopefully the start of another brilliant series. You know what, I think I might have superhero fatigue, because I used to be a huge fan of Marvel. I used to be so excited to watch the films, same with like the X-Men films. Like I would probably say like the 2000s and 2010s were like my peak superhero era. And you know, it's the same as zombies. There was a long time when I used to be obsessed with anything zombie related, and then I got really fatigued from reading zombie stuff, watching zombie stuff. So I feel like maybe that's affected my enjoyment of My Hero Academia. Obviously the title of this as well, Academia. Yes, there's going to be learning, there's going to be some kind of school setting. That's exactly what we've got. It felt extremely X-Men to me, and it wasn't the most interesting direction. We have like this entrance exam in it too that, oh hang on, I'm rushing ahead. I haven't even explained what this is about. But we have a main character called Deku in a world where there are, I think they said like 80% superheroes, or at least like 80% of people on the planet have a quirk. And quirk is just another name for like superpowers. So Deku is someone who is born without a quirk, and he ends up running into his favorite hero of all time, All Might. And from there, we have this sort of like hero training and getting into this academy. So just like from what I've read in this video too, it was like very Blue Exorcist, Black Clover. We have like an academy for some kind of profession, some kind of different kind of place to study to be what you want to be, I guess. And it's the same in this. Obviously this is like a teen focused series, like a lot of the manga I've read in this video is, but I don't know, I feel like I'm just so bored with the school setting too. It's like you have a book series about superheroes like being the majority of the world and villains just being like so commonplace, and we're in a school. I guess it's just the first volume. I'm sure it gets better from there, and we'll probably get more original kind of lessons and classes and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's just like we have the entrance exam. I don't know, felt a little Hunter x Hunter, and I haven't read much of Hunter x Hunter, but there's that too. Deku is the main character as well. He just seems very self-sacrificing. He feels very standard as a protagonist. I wasn't really like that drawn into him. I love his passion, I love his drive, but every single main character in any story has a passion, they have a drive, they have a goal. And his goal to be a hero, even though he doesn't have a quirk at the start of this, I need a little bit more than that. I need a little bit more personality, and I just didn't really get that from him. There is also another character who's just an asshole for being an asshole. I don't know, it just felt very done before, I guess. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. And I apologise if this is like your favourite thing ever. I am just basing my opinion on the first volume. As I say, maybe it does get better from here, but it didn't draw me in at all, and I'm so gutted about that because I do really enjoy, in the wider context of things, superhero things. But yes, I think I am just in a bit of a fatigue stage with it all, so potentially that's affected my enjoyment of this. So I'm not saying like this was terrible at all. If I was going to give it a star rating, it would probably be like 3 stars out of 5, which isn't bad. But I have no desire at the minute to continue. So I would probably rank this below Fruits Basket and above Blue Exorcist at the minute. I just need a little bit more variety, and I can't fault the first volume too much for not giving me that. I think One Punch Man is another sort of superhero-esque book. I'm still going to keep my mind open for that too. I'm so sorry about this one. I'm going to shuffle the wheel, see if that helps anything. So yeah, let's hope I don't get One Punch Man. Right now, I would love to have a little bit more of a break after this one before I get to that one, which is, I think, probably the closest to My Hero Academia. So let's see what I get. What should be One Punch Man? Oh, that was close. Okay, it's not. It's not. Tokyo Ghoul. And now I'm praying that there's no high school setting in Tokyo Ghoul. Damn. You know how I was talking about The Walking Dead before? And this, I wouldn't even say is anything like it, really, or the ghouls that are in this. But the ghouls that exist in Tokyo Ghoul are ones that do... well, they can kill people and eat flesh, and that's what satiates their hunger. So it's almost like a hybrid of vampires meets zombies in a way, a little bit. Because I was expecting a different kind of ghoul. Usually when I think of ghouls, I think of ghosts and things like that, but these aren't ghosts. These are, well, they kind of look like just like normal people, really. And you can't really tell who is a ghoul unless they have like a defining feature about them. And as you can see with the main character, one of his eyes is very ghoul-like, and the main character, it's mentioned on the back, so this isn't a spoiler, this is like the actual premise of the story. He is just a regular human, a normal person. He's attacked, and he ends up getting a transplant where the transplanted organs actually belong to a ghoul. So he's like slowly turning into one, because as a human, like, I don't think I could ever eat human flesh or like any kind of thing like that. Like, it sounds absolutely disgusting and horrible. And if I was ever in the main character's situation, his name is Ken, I don't know what I would do, because I'm the same way as him. Like, I found him, even though I've never been in the situation where I've had to eat human flesh, I found him quite relatable in the sense that if I was in his situation, this is how I would probably react to. It can be gruesome at times and a little bit scary too. And I have a high threshold on what I find scary or gory these days, but I felt like this was really pushing the boundaries of it without going too over the top. But I don't know, I guess it depends on where your boundary lies in terms of blood and gore. But the vibes of this was absolutely immaculate, super duper intriguing, so very excited to continue. Like, this just felt literary in a sense too. I feel like this is probably one of the better written mangas that I've read in terms of like what the dialogue was and like how introspective the characters are, and also some of like the literary parallels. Love the fact that the main character is a huge book lover. That's something I definitely relate to. And I guess in manga, I haven't read too many people who are book lovers, like actual novels. I have read some where they've been huge fans of manga in anime, but not really novels. So it was really nice to see that being represented too. I just felt like I was watching myself. Pleasantly surprised by it. Can't wait to see more of the world and how ghouls work and what all of that entails. So I would probably put this 5th at the minute. I would probably put it underneath the first volume of Vinland Saga, but I would definitely prioritize continuing the series. Ash, you have barely appeared in this video, but do you want to watch me spin the wheel? Do you want to watch me spin the wheel? Watch. Damn it. He's not that bothered. He's not interested in my manga journey at all. Ooh, okay. The Promised Neverland. The Promised Neverland is next. Do you mind? I need to get the book. But yes, thank you, Wheel. I am reading The Promised Neverland next. I love this. I freaking love this. I was not expecting what happened at the start of this. Like, literally the first chapter. I'm pretty sure, like, what, like 20 pages in or something? 30 pages? What? I feel blessed to have not been spoiled by what actually happens in this, because I just initially thought this was like an orphanage, like set in an orphanage, there were kids there, and it just kind of goes through maybe their day-to-day routines, maybe follows their imagination, because I saw Neverland and I thought, oh, maybe it's some kind of like Peter Pan stuff. I'm so sorry about the lighting as well. It's like midnight right now. Not long finished it, and I just wanted to get on here and talk to you. But yeah, I literally just thought that's all it was. And I don't think it is. It's not anymore. So I'm not going to say what the twist is on this one. And I'm sure a lot of people have already maybe mentioned it. Maybe a lot of people already know going into it. But all I can tell you is that this is a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. A lot darker. And let me tell you, I'm just so incredibly intrigued by where this story is going to go. Which I probably said about every single volume I've read in this video. But this is the one that I'm the most excited to read more of. Because I need to know. Main character wise, there are, I think, maybe like 3 main characters. One of them's called Emma, and I really like her. She is someone who I'm really rooting. In fact, I'm rooting for all of them. Just a really interesting setup, and yeah, I just how do I talk about this with it being spoiler free? How do I talk about it? Tell me. The whole orphanage setting as well is quite different for me. Haven't read a whole lot of books that are predominantly set there. Usually if I read a book, we start at an orphanage and then sort of move away from it after that. But this is like the setting, and I just didn't think I would be that taken by it, that intrigued by it. I genuinely wasn't expecting how much I actually enjoyed it by the end of it. Whew, boy, I need the rest. I know that there's a box set coming out in October of all 20 volumes. I might wait until then to get them all. But will I be able to wait? I don't know. My friend Katie from Katie Carlson, she has read all of the books. She actually has a vlog of talking about everything that happens in The Promised Neverland. I have it saved. I've been wanting to watch it, but I wanted to read it first. Now I know why she enjoys it so much too. So like, where would I place it? I don't think it's overall the best manga I've read so far in this video. I think it's definitely up there though. I think maybe Bleach is still my favourite. And I think maybe Sailor Moon is still above this too. See, I've turned the computer off. So I have all of them stacked there in ranking order. I'm not even pointing the right way. All of them stacked there in ranking order. And yeah, I'm like, would I put it above Dr. Stone? I don't know if I put it above Dr. Stone. I probably would put it above Vinland Saga, just based off the first volume alone. I'm not saying the entirety of The Promised Neverland is better than the entirety of Vinland Saga. I'm sure that's not the case, but just based on my first initial gut instinct reaction, enjoyment of a story, I think The Promised Neverland at the minute is probably my number 4 manga. This is actually harder than I thought. It's getting to a point now, I think, in the rankings where it's actually really hard to put one above the other because there's so many now in the ranking. I'll keep this at number 4 for now. Just like so good. I'm ready for bed. So let's spin this wheel. Heh. I've been playing with my cats. Oh, so close to being Yona of the Dawn. It's Banana Fish. It is Banana Fish. Well, I must admit, Banana Fish is definitely so interesting and not at all what I was expecting. I was actually expecting a lot more, I guess, romance in a way. It does say shoujo on the side, but like, there isn't really romance in that sense. Like, I do know that this can be queer. Like, this is one of the reasons why I picked it up, was because, you know, it's kind of sold to me as some kind of gay romance kind of thing. But, like, it's so subtle in this. Like, you really do have to read between the lines half the time. There is the idea, because, like, we follow Ash, who is, like, enslaved by this mob boss, and there is hints that there is, like, a sexual relationship between them that isn't exactly wholly consensual on Ash's side of things. Seems like he has no choice in the matter, but like nothing's ever really shown in that regard. Like, a lot of things are things or clues that you have to pick up on yourself. So again, there's like a lot of subtlety to this, and there are just like different symbolic things as well, different phallic symbols, or, you know, subtext like that you really do pick up on. That's not even like the romance angle of it. There is another character in here called Ija, who is on the cover, and there is potential of a blossoming romance between Ash and Ija. So that's something that I'd be interested in exploring further, because yeah, that one seems a lot more healthy than whatever is going on between Ash and this like mob boss person. But I will say, like, the setting of this was great. I love 80s feeling things, and this is like set in New York in the 80s, and you can really feel it through the art style, and the illustration really does help highlight like the date of it. It felt like I was genuinely watching some kind of like 80s cop movie at times. Saying that though, I don't think I'm wholly invested in a gangster kind of story with like mob bosses and things like that. Like I still haven't even seen The Godfather, for instance. These are things that I should be doing. And while I am rather intrigued by this budding romance that could potentially happen, I'm not as invested in the plot of this. I'm just not like really into the whole mobster stuff. But I mean, at least I gave it a try, and I can definitely appreciate the literariness of this and the things that I had to read into myself in order to understand the clues that the author's putting down. Genuinely not bad though, and I feel like if I didn't have anything else to read, I may end up reading more of this, and it's not like the worst thing I've read in this video. In fact, I would probably put it just below Fruits Basket at the minute. I mean, it's not great, but you know, it's not terrible. And I do think Ash as a main character stands out amongst a lot of the other main characters that I've read in this video so far. Just not enough to like really get me invested on reading volume 2 or picking up volume 2 anytime soon. Right, okay, we're down to the last 10. Let's spin the wheel. Ooh, hey. Okay. Nice. Yona of the Dawn. I honestly wasn't really feeling Yona of the Dawn when I first started it. When I began this, I was like, I don't know if I really want to read about a princess who's in love with her cousin. You know, it's just not something I gravitate towards. And I honestly thought at the start of this, I was like, oh, is this really just like about, I don't know, royal life? Because I recall the general premise from when I picked this up in store because it was recommended to me so much. And I picked it up, read the back of it, and I was like, oh, that sounds great, I'll get it. And then I just forgot the entire premise when I started this, and I was like, wait, why did I pick this up again? And then by the end of chapter 1, I was reminded why I picked this up again. It was a little bit like how in The Promised Neverland, how there is like a bit of a twist by the end of chapter 1 that makes it so exciting and makes it something that you want to read on. The same kind of thing happens here in that the intrigue and my want to continue didn't really kick in until a little bit later on. And yeah, I was very surprised by something that happened. So yeah, we do follow Yona. She is a princess in a kingdom and it's her 16th birthday. And there's things to do with, you know, getting married, and she's in love, as I said, with her cousin. But yeah, things happen on her 16th birthday, tragedy strikes, and Yona has to sort of flee the palace with her sort of bodyguard, ... You know, it's like a very exciting kind of story. I will say I didn't love the sort of little additions that the author made. The box on the side, and it appears like once per chapter, and it's just like the author just saying things about the book, the ideas for the story, stuff like that, you know, things that kind of take you out of the story because it reminds you that it's a story. So hopefully it's just a first volume kind of thing, and then maybe in the future those little author inserts are taken out, because yeah, I don't really love that idea. I mean, keep it as a little epilogue at the end, you know, like have a little bit of an author's note, but to have it sporadically within the volume, yeah, it was just very distracting. I don't really feel that much of an attachment to Yona, but I see the potential with her. After everything she goes through in this volume, I think she is only going to get stronger from here. She's going to have to learn a lot to overcome what's happened and to, well, I don't know if this is going to be a story of vengeance or justice, or, you know what I mean? It's like, there are so many possibilities of where the story can go, and I don't think volume 1 gave me the entire picture, which a lot of the times they don't. So I'm just talking in circles here. I'm saying non-things right now. But just know I did end up enjoying it more so than I thought I would. And I can't wait to see Yona's journey. Anything else? Yeah, I don't think any of the characters really stood out too much. Maybe one of them did, but I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, I'll not say their name, but I'm looking forward to more. I'm definitely going to continue, just don't know when. And I don't know where to rank this either. So I did take a photo of the stack, you know, the stack I've read so far. Where would I put it? I think I would put it below Food Wars and above Assassination Classroom, which would put it 10th so far in my rankings, which sounds good to me. Honestly, it's impressive that Food Wars, which was the very first book I read for this video, is still in the top 10. But I love that it's standing the test of time, honestly. Right, let's spin the wheel. I can't believe there's only 9 left. What am I fancying? anything. At this point, anything. Oh, it's always so close. Like, for some reason, it's never just, like, definitely one thing. It always just inches out, which is very funny. But Kamisama Kiss is what I'm reading next, which I feel like might be a little bit similar to Yona of the Dawn. In fact, it probably isn't. It's probably nothing like it. But onward we go. And that is another manga down. Kamisama Kiss. I read this last night. I thought it was so cute. It was very cute. At times a little bit scary. There's a scene, again, not going into spoilers, a scene where someone is chasing someone with a knife. And I was like, damn, that's a lot darker than I thought. But that isn't indicative of the entire volume. I actually found this quite cute. We follow Nanami, and she ends up losing her house that she lived in with her dad because her dad's just like ran off because he was dealing with some financial strain. And now she's like all alone in the world. She ends up coming across someone who tells her, there is a shrine that I live at and you can live there too. So she ends up doing that. She does meet some deities, and a series of events happen, and she ends up having to take over the role of being a local deity. And like anyone who comes to the shrine to pray or ask for things, she kind of has to try and answer their prayers. And I've never read anything quite like that. And this also was the same kind of format as Yona of the Dawn, because there were, again, these little panels on the side with a little letter from the author, and that carried throughout the volume. So I am hoping that it's just like a volume 1 kind of thing for, I believe this one in Yona or Shoujo. So hopefully that's just a volume 1 Shoujo thing and it's not something that continues on throughout the series. But I found it less distracting in this than I did with Yona. I think because Yona had such a heavier story, whereas this one was a little bit more lighthearted. So I could, you know, glance at the little author notes and things and not be too far removed from what was happening. I did love the budding sort of chemistry-ish between these two characters here. Definitely not your standard kind of way of meeting people or becoming friends, which I am kind of using the term friends loosely. But I did find myself really rooting for the main character. I felt so awful for her at the start, kind of losing her dad, her house and everything in one fell swoop. And also, you know, being bullied by people at school, calling her poor, and all of these things that are out of her control. It's just so mean and so horrible and nasty. But she perseveres, she continues. So I really do connect with her and I like her a lot. I would love to see what she does next, especially with this new job role that she has. She has a lot on her shoulders. And I love that nothing comes easy to her either. Like, it's not just slipping into the role of being this sort of deity and it being that easy. There are obstacles and it's nice to see her try her best. Saying that though, not one of my favorites in this video. Definitely nice, cute and wholesome, but I would probably put it below Fruits Basket at the minute. I would potentially consider continuing, but I'm not 100% in on the story just yet. I think it would take a few more volumes for me to really get into it, as I'm sure the same can be said about any of the manga that's below this one too. But I would probably just maybe watch the anime, maybe, because I like the story. It's different. Let's get to spinning on the final 8 manga. Essentially my final week reading all of this manga too. So what is it? I think it's gonna be One Punch Man. Ah, there we go. Okay, yes. It was One Punch Man, and I'm, again, I don't mind that. We have ourselves, I think, another superhero manga, so I feel like enough time has passed since My Hero Academia. This was probably the funniest manga that I've read in this video. And the thing is though, I don't know if that's the best thing for this because there's so much humor and even the initial premise of this is just so ridiculous, but in a great way to actually read. I don't know what the longevity of this story is because once you get through that initial premise, there's not really much left after that. So we do follow our main character. He is called Saitama. I probably got it wrong, but he can punch someone and knock them out in one punch. And he is a superhero, there are monsters, but yeah, he can take them down in one punch, which honestly, it sounds odd. It does come across as very funny though. And you know, you do get some backstory, which really does help to pad out the narrative and the story itself. But yeah, I feel like after all is said and done, I'm like, okay, but I don't really understand what the entire plot is. We do meet another character who might become a sort of apprentice to him, which is, again, interesting. It could end up leading to something rather unique, but I don't think, just based off the first volume, there is enough yet for me to be like, oh, this is like a new favourite, this is what's gonna be like my number one. I don't think it's anywhere near number one, but it is something that I think I could potentially see myself reading more of, just to see if it can keep to the premise or if it has to go beyond that in order to keep this as a fresh story. And this is why I'm not writing it, because obviously I can't think ahead and say, oh yeah, this story's going to go places. I'm not the writer, so I can't make that judgment. But I think just as a reader, I just don't know if I want to see fully the future with this series. There are some parts of this, especially artwork style, where I thought it was beautifully illustrated, and then there are other parts where I'm just a little bit like, but I feel like maybe some of that was an intentional choice on the mangaka, mainly to do with the main character. Yeah, like say here, for instance, we have the main character there who can punch in one punch, and like a villain, and just like his design there, I'm not 100% sure why. Like, even when you see these panels here, you see this really detailed villain, right? This is like the very first chapter, by the way. This is like the first couple of pages. But you see the villain there, and yeah, then you see him, and he's just like a sort of very simplistic kind of design. But that doesn't keep up all the way. There are other times where he looks more detailed. Okay, like when he's just in like, I guess, regular human form. Yeah, like it does seem a lot more detailed. But then there are other moments where he isn't. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that choice. I'm sure there is an intention behind it. Please let me know down below if you've read this and you know what it is. I think I'm going to rank it below Fruits Basket at the minute. It is above My Hero Academia because I still found this to be a lot more entertaining than My Hero Academia, not gonna lie. I definitely laughed a lot more in this. I think some of the battle sequences were a lot more gripping than My Hero Academia. So if I was gonna pick one over the other, it would be this one in the like superhero genre. But yeah, not a whole lot more to say about One Punch Man. I gave it 1 go. You can call me 1 go man because I've tried One Punch Man the once. Oh my god, that was so bad. Let's see what the wheel is giving us next. Boop, boop, boop. Chainsaw Man. I was wondering when this one was going to come up. This has been so popular recently, and since I read One Punch Man last night, I can just go ahead and read this straight away. Gosh, I love reading manga so much. Like, just like that, I'm done. I'm sad that I'm only doing one a day. But I finished Chainsaw Man, and I do really like this first volume. There were so many great things about the premise of it that I really enjoyed. There is this really cute little chainsaw dog called Pochita that I absolutely fell in love with. One of the cutest sidekicks I've seen in a manga so far. I just fell in love with that little chainsaw doggy. I'm gonna get myself a plush of that. I haven't even said what I really think about this book or if I'm even gonna continue, but no matter what, even if I hated it, I'm getting a plush of that little chainsaw doggy. But we follow a guy called Denji, and he has not had a great life at all. Like, his upbringing has been awful, and for that I feel so bad for him. And it also lends into his personality going forward in this volume. So there were definitely things about him I loved, things I didn't love as much, but everything that happened I understood. Isn't it really fit him as a character? I have to always remember he is a bit of a naive teenager who hasn't had a great life. So like, say his obsession with touching boobs, he is a teenager. I have to remember that. Even though it was brought up quite a lot in this first volume, I didn't love it. I did not love all of that. But, you know, I mean, if I was a straight 14, 15-year-old boy, I'm sure that's all I could think about too. At that age, it was not boobs I was obsessed with. But there is a level of understanding, especially when you look at things from his perspective. And honestly, I just felt so bad for him. As I said, like, Denji is endearing. He says things that are, well, I mean, even one of the other characters say this, he is like a dog. He is like a, I guess, a silly little dog, and he is very loyal and just doesn't know a whole lot of stuff, which does mean that he is very easily taken advantage of. And I hope this is something that we see grow and develop as Chainsaw Man goes on. The whole premise of this is that Denji is a devil hunter and he's trying to pay off debts, and yeah, there are devils in this world, and along with his little chainsaw doggy, he is able to kill them and make some money off it. but then this event happens which turns him into the Chainsaw Man, and he can actually turn his body into chainsaws, which is honestly terrifying. One of the horror movies that I'm the most scared of, and horror movie villains I'm the most scared of, is Leatherface. Leatherface is one of my most feared villains ever, so having a main character who can turn into chainsaws is kind of scary. Really cool to fight against devils, of course, but it's still like really scary and quite gross to see. It is what it is, but mind you, this little chainsaw doggy though, even though it's got a chainsaw on its head, it's just so cute. For that alone, I think I've definitely bumped Chainsaw Man up from what I was initially going to give this when I finished reading it. I definitely think Pochita elevated my enjoyment of this. I will say though, I still really enjoyed the story. I'm very intrigued to see where it goes, and very excited to see Denji hopefully grow as a character as the series goes on. So for that, I'm going to put Chainsaw Man at number 11 right now. I think I would put it just under Yona of the Dawn and above Assassination Classroom. Definitely intrigued to read the entire first arc of this. I think isn't like the first 11 volumes of Chainsaw Man is like one entire arc or saga. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely want to read them. I definitely want to pick them up, pick up a box set if there is one available, and continue. Right, let's get into the final 6. Ooh, what's gonna be? What is it gonna be? Another series. Well, I think all of them are series. I meant long series, okay? I meant long series. Fairy Tail is next, and again, I'm so gutted. I have to wait until tomorrow to read it now. This is actually such a comforting read. I read this morning with my morning coffee, and just like the vibes of it, I just got like a bit of cozy vibes, a little bit of Owl House-y kind of vibes too, which I love Owl House. You know, just in the fact that we have this like really magical world, and I love anything with like magic markets and that, like these wizard guilds, and the main guild in this and the main characters we follow are from the Fairy Tail Wizard Guild. And it seems like there's such a colourful and bright cast of characters. I feel like this was probably heavily inspired by One Piece, and I can definitely see some of like Luffy and Nami in the main characters of this. But I would say like Natsu here is very Luffy, and Lucy, she feels very Nami. Well, Happy is the cat. I don't know if I can really liken him to any of the One Piece characters. I love the introduction to the world. I love the little fights that happened. I love that anything can really happen too. You know, we have dragons, we have these talking big apes, and it feels like there's just going to be so much more magic to discover. We start off the manga with Lucy not being part of the Fairy Tail Guild, and she's desperate to become part of it, so we follow like her journey along with meeting Natsu, who is a fairy tale wizard, and all of that. So I don't know if there is anything to do with actual fairy tales like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. I think it's just a play on that word. I believe the series is complete too, and honestly I would definitely read all of them, because even though I do see the similarities and maybe it isn't the most unique thing I've ever read, I just can't tell you the gut feeling I got from it and just how cozy and nice it made me feel. I can just see me binging all of the volumes in one go. I think there are maybe 63 volumes of this, and yeah, I definitely done Stranger. I really enjoyed this, like really enjoyed it, and for that I think I will put it 6th at the minute. I think I will put it underneath Vinland Saga but above Tokyo Ghoul. I just enjoyed it so much. I see the potential, and I love anything to do with magic and dragons and wizards and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is a very promising start. So we are on the final 5 manga volume 1s to read in this video. Attack on Titan, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Marmalade Boy, Phantom of the Idol, and Undead Unluck. So I still have these 5 left. Let's spin the wheel. I don't know if you can hear that, but I think my neighbours are having sex. Anyway, spin it. Hey, okay. Okay. I think this is in its final season in the anime, and this is like everywhere right now, so I was wondering when this one would show up in this video. Looks like this is going to be the 5th last manga that I read in this video. Jesus. Okay. This is a volume 1 that goes really hard. I mean, I'm so glad that I actually really love this, because earlier this year I bought all 34 volumes in one go because somebody on eBay was selling them all for a very, very good price. So I didn't realize just how much I would enjoy it. This first volume, and honestly, I was scared. Like, by the end of the first chapter, I was actually terrified. The Titans terrify me. Okay, so we are, like, I think the last humans on Earth, and, you know, the Titans had taken over. They eat people, and now we have this sort of stronghold, this big, huge place with this big wall around it to keep the Titans out. And one day, this big bastard just looks over the wall. He's just like, you know what I mean? It's, do you know how scary that is? Do you know how terrifying that is? I had chills. I don't even know what I would do in that situation. Seeing that huge, monstrous Titan looking over that wall. Oh, and it's not a spoiler because it's literally on the cover. But yeah, this dude, and honestly, the Titans are terrifying and disgusting. The designs are incredibly grey because they get under your skin, mainly because these Titans don't have skin. And I find that so effective. I will say I didn't love the art style half of the time. I mean, sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. I'm gonna see if I can try and find a spoiler-free example of what I mean. Like, I guess this, I don't know what it is about it. Yeah, sometimes I just don't like the art style. That was probably a bad example, but you know, it didn't detract from just like how much I enjoyed this. I don't think I've connected 100% with the characters just yet because I think this is... Asha's going for a shit. 2 seconds. Was a freshly clean letterbox enough? Anyway, yeah, I don't think I connected 100% with the characters because I think this was definitely more plot heavy, which is not a detriment to the story whatsoever. I actually think having it so plot heavy and so fast paced really helped with my own personal enjoyment with this. But then things just happened by the end of it. I think chapter 4, is this only 4 chapters? End of chapter 4? What? Whoa. So yeah, I super love the idea of this world. The Titans themselves, oh my gosh, freaky, absolutely freaky. At times it was heart-wrenching. I really loved it, okay? I just really loved it. It's honestly so hard to do spoiler-free reviews in a video where I've already read, what, like 25, 26 books or something? Like, this is really hard to talk about spoiler-free, but it was so good. I think it is my #1 manga of the video so far. And remember, just volume 1s, this is all just volume 1s. I think Bleach has the advantage, at least the first volume, in terms of emotion. I think I felt more emotion from the first volume of Bleach, but I think out of absolutely everything, there was something about it. I was just sitting here drinking my tea, and it was just the best time. It was the absolute best time. So I have 33 more volumes to go. Not in this video, but I do plan on reading all 34 volumes in a video at some point. I'm so happy. I will watch the anime of this too. I know my friend Lauren really, really loves it. So I'm gonna try and give it a go too. I'm just so happy. And sorry about that. Ooh. It takes a while to like actually stop, but it looks like, and I have them all with me because I only have a few left. Undead Unluck is the next one. So I was actually warned about this one before I went into it, that there will be things that will make me feel a little uncomfortable. And knowing that definitely helped me get through this. And I'm not saying it's terrible at all. There is definitely a level of enjoyment, and I love how unique the premise is too. But yeah, I went into it knowing and expecting there to be some uncomfortable things happening. I actually first heard about this because I was watching, well, I say watching, I couldn't watch too much of it because of spoilers, but I was just wanting to see what would win this tournament bracket. And Rogers Base was doing a Manga of the Year 2022 with other manga creators, and Undead Unluck won the best manga of 2022. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to keep an eye out on that and see if it pops up, and I'll probably get it and try it out. So as soon as I saw this in Forbidden Planet, I was like, oh, volume 1. They barely have volume 1s of anything, so I'm going to pick it up. And I don't regret picking it up. I think I will still continue reading this and see where it goes, because I've also heard that a lot of my problems, or at least a lot of the problematic stuff that happens in the first volume, kind of fades away, or at least like it gets better from there, and I do want to see where the story goes. So essentially we do follow like two main characters who are on the cover here. We have Fuko, I think it's pronounced, and Andy. And Fuko, she has unluck. So if somebody touches her and then stops touching her, then they could get struck by lightning or get in a catastrophic accident, things like that. And our other protagonist, Andy, he is an undead. He's not a zombie, he's an undead. And he can't die. And he wants to die. So he's trying to get this unluck to kill him. That sounds like a really dark and grisly premise, but it's actually very light-hearted at the same time. But saying that though, there are some questionable things that Andy does says towards Fuko that you're just a little bit like, yeah, that does make me uncomfortable. He's also obsessed with shoujo manga and romance, so I feel like that is another part of her relatability. I think she is going to be so cool to continue watching and developing. Andy himself, he seems to be naked a lot. I mean, the cover's censored, but you're kind of expecting a lot of this, which I don't hate. You know, Andy is an attractive undead, but I am definitely turned off by a lot of his actions. I don't think I'm going to write this off. I will say though, I still will put this under My Hero Academia for now, just based on the first volume alone. It wasn't my favourite, but I did still have a good time reading it, and I look forward to the fact that, yes, there will be, hopefully, improvement. I don't know if that's actually true, because it would be just my luck if it wasn't. I only have 3 manga left, the final 3. Making a prediction what is going to be the next one I get to read. Maybe Marmalade Boy. I think that's my prediction. The wheel selections are so big now. It's going to be pretty funny to watch this. So yeah, let's spin it. Let's see what I get. But I predicted Marmalade Boy. Let's see if that happens. I'm a wizard! I'm a bit speechless, not gonna lie. Even though there was a 1 in 3 chance of me being right, so, you know, the odds were quite high. Yeah, Marmalade Boy is next. I feel like if I was more into high school stuff, I think I would be a lot more into this. And it's odd as well because like Heartstopper, for instance, is one of my favourite things ever. And that is high school romance. So I don't know if it's maybe like I guess straight romance and things probably doesn't like interest me that much. Yeah, a lot of this is set at high school. The main premise of this is that our main character, Miki, her parents are, well, not exactly getting a divorce, but they've met another couple who have a son, and they've decided to sort of spouse swap, which is honestly a very interesting and really funny kind of dramatic thing that's going on. Honestly, like, I'm enjoying the drama that's coming from that because we have Miki who doesn't love what's happening and she's kind of resistant to it. But then her sort of like new unofficial stepbrother, Yu, he is all in, like he doesn't mind it at all. So it's nice to get both of those perspectives. And also I was researching this and this came out the month I was born. The month I was born. I can't believe it's that old. But also there's like a certain charm to manga that came out back in that day. I mean, the art style isn't incredibly fantastic. Like the eyes are quite big and sometimes it can be a little distracting, but I find a level of charm from it, even though I didn't fully love the story itself. I didn't quite connect to it, and I do think this is going to be more like high school going forward and the potential budding relationship between Miki and her unofficial new stepbrother. So I'm just a little bit like, I don't think I really want to read any more of that. I don't think I really want to pursue it even further. But I can honestly see the appeal of it. I can see why people enjoyed it so much. There is a little bit drama to it, and yeah, it was absolutely fine, but just not really my thing, unfortunately, which, you know, I do feel bad putting this in with so many other manga that I think I'm more into. But I wanted to give it a try anyway. It was recommended to me by patrons, so yeah, I gave it a good college try, and I don't think I'm really that bothered about continuing. So this one is probably like second bottom at the minute. I would put it above Rainbow Days, and something that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to continue. But it's nice to know. It is nice to know that I can sort of move on. So now there are only 2 manga left. So which is it going to be? There's like a 50-50 chance. I want to try and guess. Last time. Shut up. Shut up. What? Oh my god, I can't believe I got it right again. Oh my god. Should I spin the wheel for the last time as well? There we go. Spun the wheel. Just, you know, making sure that I get the last one too. And I've never seen what this wheel looks like without anything on it. Let's have a Phantom of the Idol last. I mean, perfect. Perfect. And now the wheel is totally gone. Totally gone. Current of melancholy throughout. That was really poignant. I thoroughly enjoyed, again, I really did enjoy this one. This is set right after I believe they'd been adventuring for about 10 years together. And it's like, what happens next? What happens after the big bad has been defeated? Like, how do they live? And stuff like that. But it's mainly Frieren, because Frieren is seemingly immortal. She doesn't age, and 50 years passes and she still looks the same, but her comrades are a lot older. And then one of them dies and she attends their funeral, and it just goes through, you know, more time after that as she is learning about humans and like the emotions around that, because she doesn't really feel a whole lot of stuff. Like, she's still learning, and it's not in an ignorant way. It's kind of like, I don't really understand kind of way. Have you ever seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I guess like the best comparison there is Anya, who in one of the episodes of Buffy has this whole like, why do humans die kind of speech, which I absolutely love. So it's like a similar kind of thing, but obviously not that similar. It was just like the nearest comparison I could make. But yeah, it just felt so melancholy and just sad. And I mean, this is still set in a fantasy world. There is still magic and learning magic and all of this. It's just still I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's just sad. And I mean, I do want to continue reading this because I think the premise alone is very enticing. I don't think I've ever read a story where it is just set in the period after taking down the big bad without another big bad sprouting up. Obviously, I've seen and read a lot of things where they take down a villain, but there's another villain just right around the corner, you know? But no, this is more, I don't know. Yeah, that. I will say though that I do think it is a little bit too quick sometimes when it has a transition and, you know, we skip ahead 50 years. I felt like it did take a little bit of adjusting to get used to that. But no, I feel like after the first chapter, I was definitely all in. And do I already have the second one? I do! Oh my god, yeah, I already have the second volume. See, I've gone to the point now with manga where I actually don't know what I own anymore. And I never thought I would get to that stage this quickly. I only really started reading manga regularly, like, not even a year ago. So, I have problems. But in terms of Frieren, I think I would rank it under Haikyuu for now. I definitely think it was more poignantly written and, again, like, explored so many great themes and messages. But I think just in terms of how it made me feel, in terms of enjoyment, I don't think I could put it above Haikyuu. I feel like number 17 right now is a great place to be. And it's definitely top 20 because I only have one more book after this. I think that's amazing. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed and looking forward to reading more. So that does mean I have my very final one, Phantom of the Idol, to read. I can't read this until midnight tonight. So I still have, gosh, like 7 hours before then. I'll just edit this vlog until then. But I'm so excited to finish this vlog and read the final manga. Let's hope we end on a high. Oh, I finished all 30 volumes and I loved every single minute of reading these manga. Even the ones I didn't enjoy the most, I still took something from each and everything that I read. And we are left with Phantom of the Idol, the final book that I had to read for this video. Unfortunately, I can confirm we have ended on a bit of a high note. Get it? Phantom of the Idol, because of the singing, and this vlog is filled with awful jokes. I mean, still not my favorite, and I think there was a moment in this, I think I got to around about chapter 4 or 5, and I was like, this is cute, this is really fun, but I don't know if I want to continue. And then the ending happened, and then I was like, okay, I'm definitely continuing. This is actually really cool. In this one, we have a band, a boy band. There are 2 boys in this band. Can't quite remember their names. I'm sorry. I'm just like so excited. Names have slipped my mind. One of the members of the band is really lazy. He doesn't really want to put any effort in, and he is in danger of being kicked out of this band, even though he needs it for like the money and stuff like that. But he doesn't really want to do anything essentially. So the lazy one, Yuya, I think his name is, meets a girl backstage. Here, another idol. She's called Asahi. She actually died a year before, and for some reason Yuya can see her, and all she wants is to be an idol again, to get on the stage again, which is a perfect pairing with Yuya because he doesn't want to be. So he allows her to possess his body whenever they perform so that it looks like he's the one performing when it's actually her, and he can still reap the benefits. Honestly, such an odd concept yet again, but such an interesting one to begin with, and it was really cool to see sort of like the hijinks and the sort of shenanigans that would happen and ensue because of it, like any misunderstandings and the sort of confusion that would happen when, you know, you're inhabited by a ghost who is, you know, doing all of these dance moves and being so happy and positive, and then the next minute it's him again and he's just like doesn't want to do anything. Very interesting. So it got to a point where I was like, yeah, okay, I like this, I do, just don't love it. But something happens at the end that means I do want to continue. I do want to see what happens next, and I can definitely see myself really falling for these characters. They do come across as so ambitious, well, apart from maybe Yuya, but I'm hoping that he does. So in terms of ranking, the final time we go to the scoreboard with a new placement, and I'm going to put Phantom of the Idol in at number 21. I put it above One Punch Man because I definitely see myself reading more of this than I do that. So enjoyable though, and I'm so glad that it was recommended to me. Oh my gosh. I don't even think I'm far back enough. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hey! My hands are shaking. This is the final ranking of the manga. I'm gonna have to put this down. Oh no. Oh no, it's gonna fall. Okay, I did it. Perfect. Let's go through the final rankings then, going from worst to best. I'm not going to talk about any of these books as I'm showing them. If you have just skipped to this point, please do go back to any of the points of this video where I talk about a manga if you want to know more about it and what my thoughts were on them. In dead last, unfortunately, and in 30th place is Rainbow Days. In 29th place is Marmalade Boy. In 28th place is Black Clover. In 27th place is Blue Exorcist. In 26th place is Undead Unluck. In 25th place is My Hero Academia, which I actually matched today. In 24th place is Banana Fish, which I also match. In 23rd place is Kamisama Kiss. In 22nd place is One Punch Man. In 21st place is Phantom of the Idol. In 20th place is Fruits Basket. In 19th place is Demon Slayer. In 18th place is Orochi. In 17th place is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. In 16th place is Haikyuu. 15th place is Dead Man Wonderland. 14th place is Assassination Classroom. In 13th place is Chainsaw Man. In 12th place is Yona of the Dawn. In 11th place is Food Wars. In 10th place is Jujutsu Kaisen. In 9th place is Title Bound Hanako-ken. In 8th place it's Tokyo Ghoul. In 7th place it's Fairy Tail. In 6th place is Vinland Saga. In 5th place is The Promised Neverland. In 4th place is Dr. Stone. In 3rd place is Sailor Moon. In 2nd place, the runner-up is Bleach, which means finally at number 1 and my favourite manga volume 1 of this video is Attack on Titan. Please do remember that this ranking is based solely on just the first volume and my own personal enjoyment. It is all my opinion, it's all subjective, so please be respectful of my opinions and tell me everything and anything down in the comments below. Let me know what you loved and what you are passionate about, your favourite manga. Is there anything in this video that you think should have been higher, should have been lower? Let me know. But I'm definitely going to continue on, I think, with 21 of these series. I think the bottom 9... I'm kind of a little bit like, but I might also continue Undead Unluck even though it was lower than a lot of them. But anyway, yeah, that's the ranking. I definitely also want to do more videos based on potentially like the top 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, there's so much manga that I actually want to do more videos on, so yeah. Hopefully that's an incentive to subscribe. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your thoughts down below. Let me know what you thought of my video. Let me know what you thought of the manga in it. Tell me absolutely everything. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons and my One Piece channel members for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon or my One Piece channel membership, then all the links are down in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye!